How did you get into this, Robert?
I got an email one afternoon from a lady in New York asking if I did something like that. And I wrote her back and said, no, Dr. Wheeler does, call him. And so she called Dr. Wheeler and he said, I'm too busy, call Robert. And so I called Dr. Wheeler and said, hey, why don't you do this, or at least let me use your methodology. And he said, I just can't do it. We can't even get to the books. They're packed in the back of a building somewhere, and we just can't do it. You're just going to have to do one yourself. So
Who is this Dr. Wheeler?
Dr. Douglas Wheeler of Mended Wings Ministry. He's a Hebraic roots teacher as well.
Okay.
Several PhDs, fluent in Hebrew and Greek and all that stuff. Real scholarly man. Just love him to death. He's my father in the Lord, whether he likes it or not. He's only 3 or 4 years older than I am, but I call him Dad. He's a wonderful man. Anyway, he had one. It wasn't near as involved as this. His was, there were a whole lot more steps to it. And when I started this, there were a whole lot more steps to it. But I taught it to a pastor of a church and his staff, and 3 weeks after I taught it to him, I happened into their office and said, now have you tried this yet? You know, have you done it? And that pastor looked at me, he was just completely perplexed, and he said, I buried 3 people this week. I married 2 people this week. I preached Sunday morning, Sunday night, and Wednesday night. I've been to the hospital 4 times. When was I supposed to do this? And so it occurred to me, well, I'm going to have to take it a step further. I'm going to have to do more of the work for them and simplify it, because it needs to be easy, but it needs to be fast. I'd gotten it to the easy point, but I hadn't gotten it to the fast point. And so that's what the purpose of these books. I've taken the work of Gesenius and others and just took it the next step to the, you know, so that it would make it much easier for people to do.
Robert.
I mean, anybody can do this. This is we've had students from teenagers up to people in their 80s, and nobody any older than that yet. But we're hoping.
We got a lot of them out here, okay?
But even the ones that were in their 80s, they're able to do this. It's really not hard, and it's worthwhile, because when you get in there and you start actually translating scriptures and you see the beauty behind the scriptures, you see the actual picture that gets lost in the translation, you see how it's worth it. The Fire on the Altar seminar that I do, I'll give you just a quick little...
yes, I wanted you to share this, because this is so awesome.
I'll give you a quick little piece of that. The Bible says, behold, when it was dark, a smoking furnace and a burning lamp that passed between those pieces. Now that doesn't make any sense to anybody that speaks English. I mean, it didn't mean anything to me when I first looked at it. And I thought, well, this is really strange. So I look up...
Say that slowly now.
And give some background of when this is. This is the
okay.
Abraham.
I'm sorry. Abraham and God are entering into a covenant.
Upon mighty loan.
Correct. And so Abraham has chopped up some animals, some cows and some pigeons and doves and things like that, and he's laid them out on an altar. Now the next thing it says that it gets dark, and then this furnace and this lamp pass between the pieces. Well, a furnace in Eastern culture, a furnace is a big black pot. And for lack of a better description, if you can picture the witch's brew when they're doing it, that's the kind of pot we're talking. I hate to say that, but that's exactly what we are talking about. That's the furnace. So what you have to stop and ask yourself, did God actually pick up one of them big black pots and a flaming menorah and walk between these pieces? I mean, if you look at your concordance, that's what you'll come up with. But there's a lot more going on here, because in that one sentence, they use every Hebrew word for fire and smoke that you can find. And in the Hebrew language, when you start saying the same word over and over again, if I say shalom, all I'm saying is peace to you. But if I say shalom, shalom, or shalom vesh shalom, I'm saying peace be multiplied upon peace to you. So it's like putting a big explanation point behind it. It's making it much bigger and much more grand. Well, you do the same thing if you're using words that mean the same thing. You're trying to build something into something far bigger than what the words can actually describe, so that you build upon those words that way. And they use words like lapid, that's one of the words for fire. That's the picture of lapping. And the initial picture in Hebrew is of a dog lapping, and this dog is greedily eating the food or lapping down the water, and it's sloppy and it's going everywhere. And that's kind of a nasty picture, but you're supposed to get from that this is something happening greedily, being, someone's excited about it, in other words. It's greedily being, someone's hungry for it. But the other word, since they're using this in conjunction with fire, they're talking about the lapping of fire. And if you think about the lapping of fire, you're thinking about the eloquent dance as it dances across.
flames.
But it's just like the animal, it is consuming everything that it's coming across. Now they also use the word esh, and the word esh imitates the sound of fire. Esh, imitating that sound. Well, when you're talking about this table and you say esh, I'm just saying that this table is on fire. But if I talk about you and I say esh, it then changes to passion. And so they're talking about God, and I know He's not a person, and we're not talking, but we are talking about a God who has feelings, who has emotions, and they're using the word esh to say that He has extreme passion. So when you put all of that together, after you've looked all these words up and followed this little methodology, what you come up with is the red-hot, flaming passion of God danced on the altar as it passed between the pieces, consuming it all.
Wow. That
So it
That
might
is
be
something
worth
else.
it.
that
Yeah.
really
You know,
heightens the
even if you're
meaning.
not a pastor, it might be worth it to you to be able to do something like that, because you can, by going through it one word at a time, you're able to put it together that way and see what the picture is. Because it just got lost in the translation. The translation isn't wrong. It is literal. Those words literally mean fire and smoke and all those things that it says, but the picture's gone.